of India. First upon, I welcome our all guests, Mr. Sudhindra Kulkarni sir, Chairman, Observatory Research Foundation, Mumbai. Mr. Dr. P.A. Inamdar sir, President, MES Society and Azam Campus, Pune. Miss Himali Chapia ma'am, Senior Reporter and Journalist, Times of India. Mr. Sanjeev Bhagwat sir, Senior Journalist, Sakad, and Mr. Fawaz Shaheen, National Secretary SIO of India, and Mr. Salman Khan, President, Student Islamic Organization, South Maharashtra. आज की ये चर्चा शिक्षा संवाद ऑन रिव्यू ऑफ ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन, इसको लेकर रखी गई है। मैं एक बार फिर हमारे सभी गेस्ट का वेलकम करता हूँ और थैंकफुल हूँ कि उन्होंने अपने बिजी शेड्यूल में से हमारे लिए कुछ टाइम निकाला। फ्रेंड्स, हम ये देख रहे हैं कि पिछले तकरीबन 1.5 साल से पूरी दुनिया एक बहुत ही कठिन दौर से गुजर रही है और इस दौर में कोविड-19 की ये वबा और पेंडेमिक हमारे ऊपर साया फुगन है और हमारे ऊपर मंडरा रही है। आए दिन हमें ये खदशा लगा रहता है कि कहीं हम भी इसका शिकार ना हो जाए। अल्लाह मुझको और हम सबको इस वबा से, इस पेंडेमिक से हमारी हिफाजत करे। जहाँ पर इस पेंडेमिक से बहुत सारे नुकसान और बहुत ज़्यादा लॉस हमारा इकोनॉमिक्स का हुआ है, लोगों की इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन, फाइनेंशियल कंडीशन बहुत ज़्यादा मुतासिर हुई है, कई लोग जॉबलेस हो गए हैं और बहुत सारी परेशानियां हम आज देख रहे हैं। लेकिन दोस्तों, अगर हम ये देखें कि ये तमाम परेशानियां और ये पूरे लॉस जो है, चाहे वो फाइनेंशियल लॉस हो, चाहे वो हमारा फैमिली लॉस हो, ये कहीं ना कहीं जो है हम इसको फुलफिल कर सकते हैं। बट अगर हमारा एजुकेशनल लॉस होगा और इस पेंडेमिक की वजह से जो हमारे जनरेशन का, हमारे प्राइमरी स्टूडेंट्स का, हमारे सेकेंडरी स्टूडेंट का, हायर सेकेंडरी स्टूडेंट का जो एजुकेशनल लॉस हुआ है, क्या उसकी भरपाई और उसको फुलफिल क्या हम कर पाएंगे? ये एक हमारे सामने एक बड़ा सवाल है, क्योंकि हम कहते हैं कि ये हमारी जनरेशन का सवाल है। अगर 2 साल हम अपने एजुकेशन से पीछे रहेंगे, अपनी तालीम से पीछे रहेंगे, तो हम जो है बहुत ज़्यादा नुकसान और बहुत ज़्यादा जनरेशन का हमारा जो है वो लॉस होगा। इसी को लेकर अगर हम देखें तो इसी साल की यूनेस्को की रिपोर्ट है कि इस 1.5 साल में कोविड-19 के इस पहले दौर में और सेकंड दौर में जो है तकरीबन 26 करोड़ स्टूडेंट्स का जो है लॉस हुआ है। 13 करोड़ ऑफ प्राइमरी स्टूडेंट एंड 14 करोड़ ऑफ सेकेंडरी स्टूडेंट। ये पूरा लॉस जो है पूरी दुनिया में भी इसका लॉस हुआ है, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं बहुत बड़ा लॉस यहाँ पर हमको इंडिया में इसका देखने को मिलता है। ये यूनेस्को की रिपोर्ट है। तो इन पूरी सिचुएशन में हम जो है एक अहम डिस्कशन के लिए, एक अहम प्रॉब्लम के सॉल्यूशन के लिए हमारे मौजूद मेहमान और रिस्पेक्टेड गेस्ट अवेलेबल है कि वो हमें जो है इस सिचुएशन से निकलने का और जो हमारा पूरा लॉस हुआ है इनसे निकलने के लिए हम क्या मेथोडोलॉजी इख्तियार करें। हमारे जो बोर्ड्स है, स्टेट बोर्ड है या सेंट्रल बोर्ड है एजुकेशन के, वो क्या इस पूरी सिचुएशन में क्या स्ट्रैटेजी वो अपनाएं और इख्तियार करें, इसको लेकर इंशाल्लाह हम आज हमारे गेस्ट से सुनेंगे। बात को आगे बढ़ाते हुए हमारा जो की पॉइंट पर जो हमारा डिस्कशन है, इसके पहले भी इस प्रोग्राम के प्रायर हमने हमारे गेस्ट को भी और पार्टिसिपेंट को भी एक कॉन्सेप्ट नोट दिया है, जिसके अंदर हम ये चाहते हैं कि बेसिकली हम इन 3 पॉइंट्स पर गुफ्तगू करें और डिस्कशन करें। पहली चीज़ ये कि हम देखते हैं कि 1.5 साल से तकरीबन हमारा जो एजुकेशन जो रुका है, ये हर एक को इसकी सुविधा मुहैया नहीं है, हर एक को इसकी सुविधा नहीं है। क्या ये एजुकेशन सिस्टम जिसकी बात हम कर रहे हैं, ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन, क्या ये सब बच्चों के लिए, ऑल स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, चाहे वो हायर क्लास के हो या मिडिल क्लास फैमिली के हो या फिर वो पुअर फैमिली के हो, क्या इन सब के लिए क्या ये ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन सिस्टम एक्सेसिबल और अफोर्डेबल है या नहीं, इसके ऊपर हमको चर्चा करना है। अभी तक हम देख रहे हैं, क्योंकि जितनी भी डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज है जिसमें इंडिया भी आता है, यहाँ पर जो है लोगों के लिए जॉब का और फंडामेंटल जरूरियात का, बुनियादी जरूरियात का बहुत बड़ा मसला होता है। तो क्या ये मोबाइल और इंटरनेट और ये तमाम चीजें हर किसी के लिए अवेलेबल हो सकेंगी क्या, और क्या अभी तक इसका क्या पूरी पोजीशन रही है, इसके बारे में इंशाल्लाह हम रिव्यू देखेंगे कि हमारे गेस्ट हमें क्या सलाह देते हैं। साथ ही साथ एक दूसरी चीज जो हम देखेंगे वो ये कि क्या जो 1.5 साल में हमारे स्टूडेंट का दो एकेडमिक ईयर अगर हम बोले तो दुरुस्त होगा, इन 2 सालों में हमारे स्टूडेंट का जो एजुकेशन लॉस हुआ है, क्या इसको हम अपने इस सिस्टम के थ्रू रिकवर कर पाएंगे या नहीं। तो इस एजुकेशनल लॉस को हम किस तरीके से कवर करें। और तीसरा अहम पॉइंट ये कि इस ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन जो हमारे पास 2 साल से चल रहा है, कि ये आगे के लिए, फ्यूचर के लिए सस्टेनेबल है या नहीं, इसके ऊपर हम को जो है अपनी बात को रखना है। इसमें बहुत अहम रिपोर्ट हिंदुस्तान टाइम्स की है कि इस पूरे सिनारियो में, इस पूरे सिस्टम में जो है, इस पूरे सिस्टम में ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन के हमारे पूरे बोर्ड्स, चाहे वो एनसीईआरटी हो, सीबीएसई हो, और इन तमाम बोर्ड्स ने जो है बहुत ज्यादा तरीक़ेकार और मेथोडोलॉजी को बार बार चेंज किया है और कोशिश की है कि एजुकेशन को किस तरीके से एक्सेसिबल, अफोर्डेबल और क्वालिटी एजुकेशन सबको कैसे मिले। लेकिन क्या इन दो सालों में वो पूरा हो पाया है या नहीं, या हमारे पास इस चीज की तैयारी ही नहीं थी, क्या हम इस ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म पर मूव बराबर कर सके या नहीं, इसके ऊपर हमको देखना है। बहुत अहम पॉइंट हिंदुस्तान टाइम ने भी इसमें बताया है, और वही हमारा जो है डिस्कशन का भी पॉइंट है कि इस पूरे एजुकेशन सिस्टम में अगर हम देखें तो 3 चीजें बहुत अहम हुई है। एक तो ये कि इक्वालिटी के साथ जो हम कहते हैं कि तालीम जो है हर किसी का, एजुकेशन हर किसी का, हर हिंदुस्तानी का, हर सिटीजन का जो है वो हक है। तो इस पूरे सिचुएशन में भी और अभी तक भी ये पूरी चीज जो है क्या हमको मिली है या नहीं मिली है, और इस ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन के सिस्टम में जो है ये और ज्यादा मुतासिर हुई है। तो ये जो है इक्वल हमको जो है अपॉर्चुनिटी तमाम कम्युनिटीज को बोलिए या तमाम लेवल के स्टूडेंट्स को बोलिए, या मिली है या नहीं, इसके ऊपर हमको गौर करने की जरूरत है। दूसरी चीज ये कि क्या हमारी एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के अंदर इन चीजों का के लिए जगह है या नहीं, या इन चीजों को कैसे इनकलकेट किया जाए, और इस एजुकेशन सिस्टम को हमारी एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के अंदर किस तरीके से हम एडजस्ट करते हैं या उसको जगह देते हैं, इसके बारे में हम गुफ्तगू करेंगे। तो ये कुछ 3 पॉइंट थे हमारे, जिसके ऊपर इंशाल्लाह आज हमारी पूरा ये सेशन रहेगा। फर्स्ट वन, accessibility and affordability of this education, online education. Second one, how to cover the loss of these 2 academic years. And third one is that sustainability of our online education. So I again welcome our all speakers and guests and participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sohail Sheikh, for introductory talk. Now moving on to the program, I would like to invite Mr. Sudhindra Kulkarni, sir, who is the chairman of the Observer Research Foundation. I would like to invite sir. Please, carry on, sir, on the topic of review of online education, online education review. Thank you.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, my heartfelt thanks to the Students Islamic Organization for inviting me to participate in this SHIKSHA SAMWAD. I'm very pleased to be joining other panelists. My association with SIO has been quite old, and every time I participated in the activities of SIO, I have admired the commitment of its members and leaders, commitment to certain basic values of society, of humanity. I think that it's one of the few students organizations in India that has been continuously focusing on certain important issues in education and in the external environment of the education. So this occasion today gives me yet another opportunity to interact with you after presenting some of my initial thoughts. Friends, we all agree that the COVID pandemic is an unprecedented humanitarian crisis, the like of which the world has not seen in 100 years. It was a public health crisis which soon led to an economic crisis, and there are many other fallouts of the economic crisis, and one of those fallouts is what impact it has had on the education system. And I guess that you are focusing more on the school education system. I mean, that's what I gathered from reading your concept note. What the crisis in school education system has exposed, has highlighted, is the stark education divide that already existed, but it has been subsequently, in the past 1.5 years, aggravated by pandemic, because as we all know, all the schools, other education systems have been shut down, exams postponed. So almost all students are now homebound. They're working or they are studying from home. And it's an altogether new experience for them, for their parents, for their teachers, and for the community as a whole. Now, what it has shown us is how deeply divided Indian society is. Because in this COVID situation, there is a very small section of society which has taken good advantage of this crisis to make use of all the online facilities for learning, for self-learning, for collective learning, for network learning, and they have done very well. Not that they have not been affected, they too have been affected, but nevertheless, because of their access to the internet and their access to many other educational tools, they have converted this into some kind of an advantage for themselves. But there is a large section of our society the middle class, and most certainly the poor class, for whom the COVID time has been a time of loss and deprivation. They just don't know how to make use of online education because many students, school-going students, have no access. Access is the most important. It's a gate. If the gate is closed, you can't go any further. Then affordability. Then thirdly, friends, online, especially in non-English languages, there is not much educational pedagogic content that they can make use of sitting at home. In the past, they at least could refer to their textbooks. Now, that material is mostly not available. In addition, there is yet another hurdle. Friends, in the past decade or so, India has progressed very rapidly in the digital sphere. More than 1 billion, that is 100 crore mobile subscribers we have. So the internet is available to a large section. Nevertheless, there are as many as 30 crore mobile users in India who are not even connected to the internet because they are still in what is called the 2G era. Their phones are serviced by the 2G technology, and 2G technology cannot be used, is just not good enough for accessing the internet. So they have no access to the internet. They have no access to online education. So access, even if there is access, a certain affordability, especially for the poor people to consume so much data, lack of availability of learning materials in non-English languages. To this, we should add the lack of training of teachers to use online material to provide whatever remote assistance they can to their children. So the situation is one that has completely exposed the education divide, which is made worse by the digital divide. Now, what is it that can be done? And what is it that the school boards can do, the governments can do, but more importantly, what we can do ourselves? What is the scope for self-help, self-learning, mutual learning, cooperative learning? Not that it can take us far, but until the situation completely becomes normal, we have to think of what is it that we can do with our own efforts. I have a few suggestions for the discussion today. Friends, every problem in its womb has its own solutions. Every adversity has its own opportunity. Now, we should be prepared for a future when the COVID situation is behind us and when the situation becomes normal. We should be prepared for a future in which we will have a combination of online and offline learning. It will not be going back to offline 100%. That will not happen. Now, that is, in my view, a boon, an opportunity for us to enrich the education experience. Because, as we all know, the internet has enormous resources to help children, to help teachers, to learn better, to learn more things. In fact, the internet has in a way made the entire world a classroom. The classroom is not any longer the four walls within which students sit and learn during a class of 50 minutes or 1 hour. Now it's possible anytime learning, any subject learning, anywhere learning. Now, this opportunity will continue, and I believe that this is a great boon of technology to humanity. Now, in order to make this possible, the first point that was mentioned by Sohail Bhai in the beginning, accessibility, affordability. All of us should bring enormous pressure on the government to make access to digital learning universal. Secondly, it must be made affordable to one and all. Even if people consume digital learning for several hours in a day, it should be affordable. Secondly, we should create a strong demand for creation of educational material in non-English languages. Because as we all know, in English, there is a lot of material already available online, but it is something that is unfamiliar, foreign to a large number of students who are studying in their own mother tongues. Thirdly, we should, in our own ways, help parents and even students with whatever little we already have. How can we make the best use of it? How can we, in our own way, because a lot of schools and colleges are not government colleges, they're private colleges, and some of them may be profit oriented, but a lot of them are oriented and inspired and motivated by social service. So those school managements and their supporters can take their own initiatives to make best use of online education, both in the interim period during the pandemic and most certainly also post-pandemic. Friends, I would like to end by saying one more very important thing. I said that every adversity has an opportunity. Now, this online education has enabled us to network very widely and to get connected and to communicate with audiences which we didn't even imagine we could speak to. For example, take this particular SAMWAD, this virtual SAMWAD. You know, we all have come together on a digital platform. Now, what it means is that we can use this to bring people of all communities, all castes, all sections of society in different parts of India and also different parts of the world to have more and more conversations, especially children, parents, teachers, so that we have a new learning experience of being aware of all of us belonging to one human family. All of us learning the virtues, the moral values of tolerance, of compassion, of cooperation, of learning from each other, of removing the prejudices and hatred that exists in society and unfortunately even in the education system. So I believe, therefore, that while this forced online education has created a lot of problems for society, it has also opened up new possibilities for us to build new bonds of solidarity, new bonds of understanding, of communal harmony, of communal peace, national unity, international unity. This is the first time that students, children can actually make friends with children from countries around the world. So let's turn this crisis into an opportunity, while at the same time urging the government to do what the government alone can do. Thank you very much for calling me for this Samwad. I will be with you friends for another half an hour or so. I had told the organizers that after 4 o'clock, I have some other commitments. I will be deprived of subsequent discussions in this forum. But once again, thank you very much and congratulations. Keep up this good work.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable thoughts and highlighting points. Now, moving on the discussion on this SHIKSHA Samwad, our next guest speaker is Mr. P.A. Inamdar, sir, who is the president of MES Society, Azam Campus, Pune. I would like to invite you, sir, to share your thoughts on the topic of review of online education. Please unmute yourself and carry on.
I'm really very happy and thankful to the Students Islamic Organization for holding such a very important webinar on this subject. What will be the future of online or offline education to the poor, needy and deserving students? I agree with Sudhendraji Kulkarni, and I would like to have some sort of a difference in offline education also. The reason is, one, first of all, after 1950, we have been able to give more and more people education. Otherwise, prior to that, the system was different, resources were different, and also we did not have even trained teacher to address huge population of India, particularly at primary and high school level. The question here, which has to be properly thought and addressed, is this: whether we have resources up to a small village to give this type of education, online education. Second, what is the economical condition of the students, particularly municipal corporation schools, Jilla Parishad schools, and other private schools, whether they will be able to meet the technical requirement which are required to be accessing this type of online education. Third, students' presence in class is not a question of just having a knowledge of ABCD. It's a question of mingling together and understand how to successfully implement whatever is being taught. Because we may be having online students in crores, they may be very brilliant, but at the same time, when it comes to implementing or practically executing the subjects taught, I think will not be that easy. Because students not only learn in class, but also learn outside the class. And there they learn 10 times more of applied knowledge in life. One thing, going from a city to Bombay or Delhi, how to go and discussing that is one thing, and actually traveling and going to that particular place they are two different issues. So I personally feel we have lost 1.5 years. Yes, I agree. Whatever has happened can be recovered also. And let me make one more submission. In this pandemic period, what I have observed, because I have a huge education institution, pandemic could have been handled by just sending the students to the schools, because in school, they would have been protected 10 times more, because distance could have been maintained, sanitization, mask, all those 3 conditions could have been complied with. The reason being, there were people who could observe that. outside, because of this, school and procedure followed in school is not available. Students are not at home, they are on road. And that has created more problem than resolving the existing situation. I personally feel this could have been done much better way by sending the students to the school. Maybe if, one class could have been divided into 2 or 3, and we could have given such type of education. But anyhow, the time has gone now. Second thing, what about the trained staff? Teaching staff has to be trained in a proper manner, and the resources to be provided to the students is the last requirement, but that's also equally most important aspect because of a financial situation. And a question of, if we provide even mobiles, we have seen parents will take the mobile which is latest, and the students will be given their mobile if at all they have one. Then in class also there are 2 types of students. One, concentrate on their studies. Second, they are also partly concentrating, but partly they are not attending properly. So at home, this has a larger and very difficult problem, because mother and father, they are not educated. About 70% of the school going children, that is the situation at home. So at least when they are in school, something can be given in a proper manner to them. And this opportunity we have to take again, at least for another 2 to 3 years. I understand ultimately online education will be part of the education system, but have not required some time to understand all the details and also prepare themselves with the technology availability, and teaching staff is trained to that level. I have come across a situation where this is not happening even in a bigger cities. It is not possible because corporation schools, Jilla Parishad school and other private schools, they don't have that type of knowledgeable teachers and also resources and also the discipline which requires. Because if they come to the classes in schools, timing is fixed. The time of each subject is fixed. The teacher is fixed because they know which student is having what stage of knowledge in that particular subject. And considering all these aspects, for the time being, we should see to it that offline schools are run. Their technology is also introduced in a proper manner. And what can be discarded, now uniform can be discarded because we spend a lot of money on uniform. Instead of that, can we provide them with the technology, whatever material is required, including mobile or laptop or whatever it is. And then question arises, maintenance of that. Because even maintaining the equipment is also a challenge because it has to be again paid for and it may not be immediately available for use. So considering all these aspects, I personally feel we must call particularly students from poor and needy and deserving communities, and rightly said by Shri Kulkarni ji that what happens to the medium material available, it may be available in English, but what happens to Marathi, what happens to Kannada, what happens to Gujarati medium students? And particularly in Maharashtra or anywhere in Gujarat or in Karnataka, different medium students are also there, different medium schools are also there. And that making it available in that particular medium with the textbooks and other material is also very challenging. So all these difficulties, though few students very well prepared because they have all resources, their parents are educated, or even if they are not educated, they don't have time, they can make it available to their kids through other sources. but this cannot be done as far as I can say 75% of the students who come from different background. Luckily for us, in India, with such a huge population, we have been able to reach to almost 95% students through, may not be a full availability of infrastructure, but we have been able to reach to those many, and that itself is a record. Now, improving is one of the most important aspects. And secondly, getting certificate of a particular class or SSC or 12th or this is one thing, and getting knowledge to applied that knowledge is another thing. So we must also see to it that for the time being, we must have 80% offline and 20% online, and slowly we should go on increasing that percentage with clear-cut understanding that students must come together. Students must come together, discuss many things, even how to walk on a street, how to cross the street is also taught by friends, because these are very, very important aspects in particularly that age up to say 12 years. 13 onwards, we may be able to absorb ourselves and acquire knowledge and move on. But up to 12 of years of age, we have to stay with the students. Even we have to stay with our friends, because there we learn so many things. And so many things are learned, and then we can improve on that. So considering all these aspects, I personally submit that we have to continue 90% offline and go on reducing offline, and opt for online education. And what happens to the infrastructure created? Such a huge infrastructure is created by government, private institutions, by government of India, and in real sense, after 1950, really worldwide, that this much education infrastructure is not created, which we Indians have been able to create. So considering all these aspects, and considering changed circumstances, and also having regard to the health problem, I have made my submission that let us go for 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 like that. 95% let us first go for straightway offline, and then slowly move towards the online education, and then also bringing the students together, whatever method we can use, on a sports method or other discussions or any other method, we have to bring them together with the teachers, because there are so many queries they have. So either those queries are answered by the teachers, but 99% queries are answered by the students themselves, their friends. They discuss and then they try to conclude something, and that practice is continued. We have gone through all these stages in our childhood education, and I am 100% sure friends continue to support. Many times poor students are being supported by their friends' parents, and I'm a beneficiary of that, because I have come from that background. It's a poverty was rampant in our days, because I am now 77, and I have studied through Marathi medium, and my SSC subject, one of the subject was Sanskrit, because those time teachers were very dedicated and devoted. And today, even B.Ed education, because I know that how teachers are being taught that education today under the change technology circumstances. Even today, blackboard chalk education is given in B.Ed, B.Ed, BA, B.Ed, MA, and PhD also. So this is also one of the things which we require to improve. How to give online education to the student should be brought into the syllabus, which has not changed so far. And I don't know how long it will take, because new education policy has been introduced. But at the same time, there is a syllabus, then there has to be prescribed books, and those books are to be distributed. It may take another 2, 3, 4 years to implement new education policy in real sense. And infrastructure also at a rural area has to be provided. And till then, I think what I have submitted, education has to be offline for the time being, and then slowly we have to reduce that offline education, and we should embrace online education, but again bringing students together so that the achievement which we are expecting from changed circumstances would really be opted, and poor, needy, deserving students really can go with the other majority community which has rural urban background and also resources to take proper education and also applied education. I'm really very thankful to the organizers because it's a very, very important subject, and I invite them, please come. We together, we discuss, and whatever further steps can be taken, because irrespective of caste, creed, religion, and everything, our constitution has been implemented. We must be proud what was there prior to 1950 or say 1900. We have been able to achieve 5,000 years, whatever backlog we had, we have been able to achieve. That's not a joke. And our constitution is providing, and also we have been able to create resources. What was there, not there, we have been able to do that. Huge infrastructure is also created, though may not be complete, but it can be created also in future. Thank you very much. And it's a very nice approach you people have taken. And I invite your leaders to visit Pune so that this can be further discussed and proper steps can be taken. सुरेंद्रजी कुलकर्णी साहेब नमस्कार. मी आपला आभारी आहे की आपण अशा एका महत्वाच्या विषयाच्या बद्दल आपला अनुभव फार महत्वाचा आहे आणि फार वाईड आहे, आणि त्याच्याबद्दल आम्हाला आपल्याबद्दल भरपूर आदरही आहे, प्रेमही आहे. आपण कृपया एकदा माझ्याकडे येऊन जावं, पण पुन्हा आपण त्याच्यावर चर्चा करू. मी आपलं इथं सुद्धा स्वागत करतो, आणि आपण आज आला त्याच्याबद्दल मला भयंकर आदर आणि आनंद वाटतो. थँक्यू व्हेरी मच.
खूप खूप धन्यवाद इनामदार साहेब. मी नक्की येईन.
प्लीज सर.
तुमच्या कॅम्पस बद्दल आणि तुमच्या एकूण साधना बद्दल मी खूप ऐकलेलं आहे.
सर प्लीज.
तुमच्याबद्दल गौरव आहे, आणि आज तुमचे विचार ऐकून तुमचं शिक्षणाबद्दल जी एक कमिटमेंट आहे ती परत आम्हा सर्वांना एकदा त्याचा परिचय झालेला आहे. आणि तुमच्या सारख्यांनी जर नेतृत्व दिला आणि प्रेरणा दिली तर
आय एम प्रिपेअर्ड टू सपोर्ट. इट्स नॉट ओनली टॉकिंग. I will be able to support this organization. Anyone who is trying to give education to the poor, needy people, I am with them. Because ultimately that has to be done. Majority, 90%, if they are educated, our India can be leading entire world.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your practical and valuable knowledge on this issue. And also thank you very much for inviting us. And we will pray for from the God that He will accept your efforts in field of education.
Yes.
So moving on further, before that I would like to announce, I have one announcement for the participants. To note your questions, we will be having the question answer session in the last. Okay. So now moving on, our next speaker in this program is Miss Himali Chapia, who is Senior Education Department Journalist of Times of India. I would request Miss Himali Chapia to please unmute yourself and share your thoughts on this issue, on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening, good afternoon.
You're audible.
Yes, good afternoon to all the other panelists. Sudhindra ji, Kulkarni ji, I've met you several times. Mr. Inamdar, of course, I have, you obviously need no introduction, and I have never met you, but it's a great platform to connect with you. And I'd like to thank SIO for inviting me for this webinar, which is a very relevant topic that's been picked up. The topic of today's discussion, review of online education. I think online education in this pandemic, वो तराजू होता है जो, you have to balance both the sides. I think online education is in that space right now, wherein it has shown to us that there are several positive aspects of online education. And on the other hand, in a country like India, which has a huge digital divide, there are also a lot of negative points of online education. It has left so many students out of the education system. A lot of places in rural areas where, whether it is our, Gram Panchayat, Zilla Parishad School, Ashram Shalas, and, Mr. Kulkarni's friend, Mr. Neeraj Hatikar, would have prized him. All of these places have suddenly shut down because of the pandemic. On the other hand, the ones who had access to education have suddenly discovered, and I'll quote Mr. Sudhindra Kulkarni when he said that, online education solutions are that you can study anywhere, any subject, and at any time. One of the most important aspects I feel is that at your own pace. When you go to a classroom, you have a bunch of students, but the one instructor who's there cannot follow everyone's pace of education. And that is something that online education has made possible. You can work, you can study, and you can learn at your own pace. I don't know if any of you knows this one Khan sir from Patna. If you check out his YouTube channel, he was popular even before the pandemic. But after the pandemic, his channel has become so popular that from merely teaching mathematics in a fun way, teaching students how to do basic multiplication very quickly, his channel has exploded. People are today asking him, the difference between AC and DC. So he's currently, from mathematics, he's talking about the planetary position. He started teaching history. The power of a good teacher, I think, is something that he has shown to us, that if you have a good teacher and if you have a system to reach out to students, you can definitely bring about magic in the classroom. You can power any classroom with a good teacher. And that is one of the issues that I think a country as large as India has. And, Inamdar sir briefly pointed out about the huge infrastructure that India has built. While we've constructed so many schools, campuses, to make sure that everyone has access to education, we've forgotten the crucial bit, which is access to excellent or good quality education. And this is something that online education would be able to achieve. I want to talk to all of you about the origin of some of these online education players, whether it is edX, which was started by an MIT and Harvard alum. He's an Indian person. When he decided to hold, when the internet was new in its initial days, he decided to hold a classroom. A class. And he realized that for a class like his, there were over 1 lakh people from around the world who signed up for this class. That was the first experiment that he had. This is Anant Agarwal, who I had met a few years ago, and much before edX was big, he had spoken to me about the possibility of online education. He very clearly told me that even if India, and this is in the higher education space, even if India opens its doors to foreign players, the Harvards, the MITs, the Cornells of the world are never going to land in India. Why? Because they are conscious about their quality. and they do not have as many good teachers to come to India, despite the fact that India can be a fabulous classroom. You know, the price of education can be brought down a lot, because the cost of living in India would be a lot less than, you know, anywhere in the US. But these people will not come to India, which is because they don't have so many good faculty members. Today, look at the IITs in our country. If you ask any of the IIT directors, what is the basic problem that you have in the IITs? Of course, funding, they will always talk about funding, but that apart, they will always feel that the 1,000 crore that the country gives them every year via taxpayers' money is less. But beyond that, they will always say finding good teachers is the biggest problem for any IIT. Open the IIT website and you will see 40 to 45% of faculty vacancy exists in the IITs. So my point is that online education can help us overcome a lot of this. I cannot, understand why a good faculty member, for instance, why can't ORF, which is doing so much research, be an online university? I have sat down and had great conversations with Kulkarni ji, and I think he can be a fabulous teacher. Why can't today there are procedural aspects, there are basic qualification issues that come about when one is trying to run a university. But you look at the private space. What is Upgrad doing? What is Hero Wired of Mr. Akshay Munjal doing? These are all online universities. They are calling themselves as edtech players, but what is edtech, or what is this entire startup? If you look at the entire startup space, what is it? It is only trying to circumvent the rules of the government by having a technology platform. Look at Ola, for instance. I know I'm diverting a bit from the topic, but I'm going to come back to it. What is Ola? It is just a cab service. They are using the same roads. Our cabs, Kali Pili's minimum fare is dictated by the government because they are using the government built roads. But Ola has circumvented all those rules by saying, I am a technology platform, I am not a taxi service. Similarly, EdTech is doing exactly the same thing. If you look at Bejus, if you look at like I earlier mentioned, Upgrad, Unacademy, Udemy, Topper, all of these players are only trying to bring in education at a certain cost by saying they're an ed tech platform. But what are they? They are online learning schools. So my point is that the private space has figured out that there is benefit in this, and it will move. If you, once the pandemic is over, everyone is talking of a new concept called liquid learning. What is liquid learning going to be? It's going to be a blended mode of education, which is going to bring together, the experiments or the physical activity that is going to be done in schools will happen in a physical space, but all of it which can be done from home, your mathematics, your English, your history, your geography, that can all be done sitting in front of a computer, and the computer will teach you a lot more. Like, for instance, if you're looking at, the entire history of India, you can maybe probably go and find out a lot more about, our kings or our, the British rule, much more than what is there in your textbook, or a lot more than what your teacher is going to convey in class. And that is what will enhance the entire experience of education. Like, for instance, I remember as a little child, I used to always ask my mother that if the Britishers were so, kind of treating Indians so badly, wasn't there anyone in Britain who felt that this is not the right thing to do? Was there ever a movement from Britain which said that please free our our colonies? And my mother said, what kind of a question is this? I went and asked that to my teacher when I was a little girl, and my teacher said, I don't know all that. That is not covered in the textbook. But today's children, my 7-year-old son asks me those questions. If I tell him something, he asks me, have you seen it? Have you read it somewhere? Have you experienced it? How do you know about it? He is not ready to accept what is merely there in the textbook. So what I'm trying to say, I'll come back to where I started from. The online education space is at a space where we need to have a fine balance between the pros and the cons. I do not agree that education can be imparted sitting in a classroom. I do not believe that education can be imparted sitting in front of a computer. Education can be imparted at a beach. Education can be imparted at, in a local garden. And that's where I think, I want to say that we need to bring about a fine balance between what we have, what we're trying to achieve, and where we want to go ahead. I think the pandemic has given us time to pause, look at, we've already seen the traditional mode of education. We've now been exposed to the new ways of technology, that technology has brought about for education. And I feel that going forward, we need to look at what is possible, what is achievable, and what would be the best path for us. I think I'll stop over here. Thank you once again for having me on this. Sorry, I kept losing my connection in between. I don't know why we don't have electricity right now, but I'm glad I could come here and present my views. Thank you, SIO, for having me.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your observation on this topic and also keeping it in front of us. Now we will be having an open session for 15 minutes. If any participant have any question, you can ask by raising your hand, or you can also drop your questions in chat box. So from now, we will be having a 15 minutes open session, question answer session. Our all three speakers are available now. So if you have any question with particular speaker, so you can ask the question. Yes, yes, Abulez bhai, you can ask your question. Unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, all the guests, for presenting the views. These were very, very new views which I have got. My question is about the credibility of online education, because in many of the institute and in many of the what I can say, in many of the places, there is actually credibility issues for the online education. It means that the online degrees are not being actually accepted as are not being accepted as a credible source. So I just want to ask that what are your opinions about this issue? Thank you.
Any of the speaker can answer on this, please.
I think Inamdar Saab and Himali are better suited to answer this question.
Yes, Inamdar sir, would you like to answer this question?
Sir, you're on mute.
Inamdar sir, please unmute yourself.
Yes. See, we have to train teachers of this new technology and technology-based delivery of their whatever subject is there. So how we are going to do this? Unless we have trained teacher who have handled all these things, and also they have practiced right from D.Ed and B.Ed with this methodology or this technology-based learning and teaching. So I am making a submission. I am prepared to train from each school one teacher at my campus for 15 days, both lodging, boarding, and teaching free. I will be able to accommodate because I have a 1,000 capacity girls hostel and also about 700 capacity boys hostel. Because unless this happens, it will not be properly delivered to the concerned students from the previous method to new method. And I want that this should also be one of the most important aspects we should consider. At least one teacher from each school and youngest teacher, because they will pick it up faster. And seniors will not change, not only that, they will not allow juniors to change. This is what it is happening. I'm just telling you.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I completely agree with what he's saying. I want to say that, the idea of online education is rather new, not just in India, but in the world. It's not something, and we've always, like Inamdalji said, we've always followed a traditional method of education, which is, waking up, going to classroom, attending lectures, and coming out. But I think the acceptance and the credibility of online education will come when we see industry, when we see higher education institutions accept what has been conducted online. So for instance, if we have stronger, right now the biggest concern about online education is the final assessment. So if you look at universities, if you look at schools right now, if you're looking at grade 10, grade 12, we have not been able to assess, lakhs of students who are just going to pass out based on their grade, 10, 11, 12 marks, or which is what is the big concern right now. The IITs have all managed to conduct in-person examinations, at least the final examinations in person. And I feel that if we do that, and if we realize that, students have picked up what was taught in class, I think that's the success of online education. On the other hand, if we realize that when these students are assessed and they mark poorly in their assessment, that's where I think we need to improve. So it is difficult to say what the credibility of online education is till you actually see the outcome of online education, which can be brought about only by assessment and recruitment.
Thank you, ma'am. One more question is in chat box. The question is, what are required changes we need in our current education system to adapt online education?
It's simple, we must provide whatever technology support is required in a proper manner and also on a continuous basis. Maybe in India, even today, there are thousands and thousands of villages where there is no electricity. Not only it is there, wherever it is available, it is interrupted, and there is also a lot of other problems. Then what happens to internet? Internet capacity, what sort of speed they require to have even proper delivery of the knowledge. You see, these are all difficult subjects. Therefore, we have to train the teacher, and also if there are equipment, who is going to repair at a smaller place? Suppose even if you have a mobile, if it is not functioning, who is going to repair there? So what I have done, I have trained student of first standard. In my campus, first standard, thousands of students can make a mobile, make it. Mobile, not only mobile, they can make, same students also computers. And at age of 5, if you give them parts of the mobile, they will give the names of each part. They will also explain the what are the functions of that part, and also they will make it and give it to you. So at every home or every small place, there has to be arrangement even to repair and give them some sort of a support of that level. Otherwise, many students, those who were otherwise previously deprived of the school, they will be depriving of support of the technology-based equipments.
Yes, thank you, sir. One more question is for you, sir. That as as you are clearly differentiated practical and theoretical part in education, what are your plans for the third wave for your campus? As practical cannot be taken online.
Now
I
let
think
us go
your student.
see. All of us have gone through college education, arts, science, commerce, college, regular college. Maybe some of us also have professional college experience. Let us understand, in our college, suppose the strength of a college is 5,000. How many are sitting in classes? How many? May not be even 15 to 20%. But at the same time, if my college strength is 5,000 or 6,000, in my campus, that college strength student is 6,500. Certain students come from outside just to meet their friends. And their considered opinion is knowledge is not given in classroom, it is given in canteen. And they are more knowledgeable, more practical, and those students who come from a different background, they are the students who guide them how to face difficulties, how to get what you want. So these are also some of the subjects which have to be delivered. Online education, when it starts, that confidence is to be created to face and resolve the day-to-day problem some students are facing. So these are some of the things which can be done after giving education to the teachers. Change circumstances, even syllabus is not changed. Methodology still in our entire India, D.Ed and B.Ed education is given on blackboard and chalk, which blackboard and chalk has gone in history. Writing has gone in history. Typing has gone in history today. And where are we? Where are we? Masses, 95% of the students, they don't know ABCD of all these changes. And therefore, we have to go step by step. Otherwise, what will happen? We 5% will proceed further in a speedy way, and 95% will remain where they are.
Yes, sir. One more important question is there. The question is, one of the motive of education is holistic development, like physical, mental, moral, spiritual, etc. So of an individual, is this possible with online education?
Very good question. May I say something so that others
Yes,
also
yes,
can
sir,
follow
yes, sir,
later?
yes, sir.
See, education by its very, in its deepest sense, is holistic. It cannot be only development of the intellect. It cannot be only about upgrading skills. It has to be total development of the human personality. You know, Mahatma Gandhi, he, one of the many things, amazing things he did was experimenting in education. He called it Nai Talim. Nai Talim is a new way of pursuing education. And he said that true education is education of the hand, education of the head, and education of the heart, and education also of the soul. So hand, head, heart, and soul all have to be trained, all have to be educated in a holistic manner. Unfortunately, today's education system, it is so mechanical, it is so rigid that it is not really pursuing, imparting education in this manner. And therefore, it's all the more important, all the more necessary that enlightened people in the field of education, like Inamdar Saab, many others, they take care of their own institutions, and they are already doing it. But I would say that with online technologies, it is now possible to expand the scope of this kind of holistic education, not in every possible way, because I agree with Inamdar Saab that offline education is going to be there. It cannot be replaced by computers and mobiles, not at all. A lot of things have to be done by hand, by experiment with your own, with your own faculties, and all that is not possible online. But many things are indeed possible, and amazing experiments are going on all around the world in holistic education, integral education. We should learn from them. We should impart our own experiences to others. And therefore, I feel very confident that the digital platform is a boon, is a gift to humanity, and we should make the full use of it.
I would like to add, from first standard or nursery KG up to 8th standard, it should be regular education. And after that, this can be online or whatever way we want to deliver, because student coming together at that particular age, there are so many things are also taught at the school only, because at home, maybe 90% of the students may not get knowledge what in that particular age at school is there. See, first standard students, today let us go SSC passed. Student passed SSC with 100 out of 100 mark in English. He cannot talk 2 lines on a spoken English. Next day, suppose he is also called in school and given some sort of a welcome, this and that, he will answer in the local language. So spoken English and technology today, if we don't have, then we are illiterate. Because we talk about our own languages, this and that, but when it comes to appreciating the candidate, if he speaks good English, we appreciate him. And therefore, spoken English and computer education must be introduced in a small to small villages first, so that international, whatever is happening, they can take it and they can improve on it.
There is one more question in chat box. As online learning provides flexibility to students, but what role does the student play in defining the learning outcomes, and how can we prepare our students as an individual, because online can cause social isolation, lack of communicational skills, and many such individual issues. How can we see the overall personality development of student via online education?
Mixed education, both. Online and offline, both. Maybe after 12th or even after graduation, let it be online, or after 12th, yes. Till then, we can, mix with students, whatever knowledge they did not get in a classroom, they will be able to get in outside the classroom also, in a campus itself.
If I may just add to it, I completely agree with what Inamda Saab just said. If you ask students, and there is something I wish to share over here. Ever since the pandemic, initially, I think we were all asked to go in for a 3-week lockdown. After that, that was extended. Because I've been covering education for the past 18 years now, I decided to have a social experiment. So every week, once a week, I meet a bunch of students, and these students I have a particular email called Campus Chatter. So because campuses are shut and schools are shut, colleges are shut, our educational institutions failed to allow students to come online to socialize. And as Inamda said that, when you come,
You're not able to get your voice.
You're not audible, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, I think there is some network problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, now you are audible.
Sorry. So I was saying, as Inamdar Saab said, that, when you go to school, it's not just about listening to what the teacher says or understanding what's in your textbook, but a lot of social skills are imbibed by children. So when you say that, how do you make sure that, students are not socially isolated? And this is a concern. It is a concern because universities in India never did anything to bring their students together to allow them to socialize. If you go onto the Harvard University website, and I'm sorry I go back to it, but you will see attending class, meeting friends to discuss projects, and there's a third link which says meeting to socialize. Now, this is something that was completely lacking in India. And when you speak to students, when I did this experiment on a weekly basis, when I asked students, what do you really miss about college? What do you miss about schools? And as you know, and I wanted to add at that time, most college students said, we miss our campus canteen, wo Chinese khana, wo bate karna. So that's where I think exciting things happen. Even if you look at an IIT campus, where are all the startup ideas coming out of? They're coming out of discussions that take place in a mess. I was trying to go from the campus to Fort, but I couldn't get an auto or a cab. I had to change several routes on a train. That's how Ola was born. When students discuss these problems, they come up with solutions. When students meet to discuss, something from their textbook, there is another student who will say, oh, by the way, I also heard my parents say something like this. So social isolation is a bit of a concern. And I think the combination, you cannot have solely, the 1.5 year of pandemic has bored us. Working from home has been difficult. I feel terrible, about learning from home. So I think we need a good balance, like I initially said, of online and offline
apart from that,
education.
our country is a huge country having so many castes and communities and religions and everything, understanding, misunderstanding, all those things, how you are going to resolve.
Absolutely.
Online, it is not possible. Because talking everything in a very proper manner, talking very nicely is one thing, and then practicing is another thing. So when you will be able to interact with the different kind of caste and creed and religious people, then you will understand that there are good people also. Otherwise, today what is happening? Today, that 1.5 year, we have been not able to come together and discuss all these things for, in individual or person-to-person basis. So there is a misunderstanding. And this is going to create a lot of complications. Because in every community, there are good people. And I am convinced there are a majority of them good.
Absolutely.
But when they are not interacting with each other, the misunderstanding created is spreading. And where there is no stability or peace, that country will never be able to progress. Maybe they are educated, but they will never be able to apply that education in a proper manner, so the country as a whole can take benefit of it. So then, if the division has also to be finished, misunderstanding is to be eradicated, then also we have to come together. And then, therefore, what I have submitted, up to age of 12, let everybody mix, because up to 8 standards. And another angle is there, after 8 standards, that is 12 years, 13 years onwards, nature also starts taking its course. Nature starts taking its course, and then priorities also change. Instead of sitting in a class 100% presency, up to 8 standard, you will get 100% presency in class. Subsequently, it starts declining, because moving in garden, meeting here and there, these things start because it has to start. It is not, you cannot stop nature. And that also we have to consider. So before, for first standard, 100 out of 100 students are there. First year, junior college, 11th standard, out of 100. And they also take admission in such a college where that freedom is available. And then I would see we cannot stop it. It has to continue, but therefore from first standard KG nursery to 8th standard, everything, cleanliness, discipline, respect for elders, traffic sense, everything can be given, and they pick it up very fast. And subsequently, all slowly they move towards nature's rule. Even if in senior college, certain students, 25% students are sitting in the class, there is also reason. A partner is sitting, therefore they are sitting. Am I right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So teacher's rule also has to be considered. And then languages are there, different languages are there. Even if community people coming from different communities, different caste and creeds, still if they are from same language, they sit together again. So India is a different country. It's a huge country, and a country which started all sorts of research 5,000 years back. America is discovered 600 years back. And we left research, and now our material, they used it, and they started research, and now they are dictating us. So we want to change all this system, because material available in India is 5,000 years old. We have made our mistakes. We have deviated from the basic education, this and that, all right. But still, we are more than what others are. America, 35 crore. Europe, 35 crore. British, 6 crore. Another 10 countries coming together, they cannot beat India in population. And also our home system. Still we have a family system. You go outside India, what happens? There's no family system. There's only system, family, that bound amongst the family members, the caring of the family, that you will not find there. So these are all historical facts we have to also deliver to the next generation. And for all these things, both coming online at a later stage, together at a first stage. That's my submission.
Right, sir. Right, sir. One final question I'm having, combining 2-3 questions. One is that as this pandemic, the classes were not proper of 10th and 12th class student. So and also they are promoted to next classes. So in this situation, to improve their quality of education, what can be done for the students' point of view? And second question is that for the teacher expertise, our one member is asking, as an NGO, what we can do for to expertise the teachers in these issue or in this pandemic situation. What only we can do from our organization, from our NGO.
After certain age, if you want to be successful in life, mathematics is first, physics, chemistry, biology, and other subjects which professional college required or regular colleges are required. Geography, history, all these things can be even exempted for the time being, but these subjects you cannot, because here everything is at stake. So suppose I had learned history, geography, we have never been able to use in a manner we actually learned. But mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, these subjects required in medical side also, and engineering side also, and many other sides, pharmacy, this, that, architecture. There are so many professional educations. So I want that this should be considered in such a manner that at least while online also or offline also, these subjects should be given top priority. Maybe if geography we can spare 50% mark, and other subjects which are excluding these subjects can be of lesser marks or lesser importance for the time being. And these subjects must be given priority and more time. And here examination should be conducted in a strict manner. Otherwise, whatever we are discussing here, we will be getting dictated by others, and then we will be able to follow some out of it. See, I am not from education field. I am an administrator. I am a builder professionally.
Yes, sir. But you have long experience. Yes, ma'am. Do you want to add something?
I was saying that I completely agree with Dr. Inamdar when he says that, some of the fundamental subjects like mathematics, the sciences,
You are not audible. Hello. Yes, Himali ma'am, you are not audible.
ऐसा है आपने जो इनिशिएटिव लिया है ना, इसको हम आगे किस तरीके से बढ़ा सकते हैं मासेस के अंदर, क्योंकि आपका डिसिप्लिन एंड वेल ऑर्गेनाइज्ड बॉडी है, तो हम चाह रहे हैं कि इसको एब्सोल्युटली सेक्युलर एंड एब्सोल्युटली न्यूट्रल अप्रोच लेके मासेस को, क्योंकि मासेस को जब तक हम ट्रेन नहीं देते कोई मुल्क आगे नहीं बढ़ सकता और कोई कम्युनिटी पीसफुल नहीं रह सकती या कोई कम्युनिटी दूसरे को मदद नहीं कर सकती। लेकिन मुझे पूरा यकीन है कि हम लोग ये सारी चीजों को डिसिप्लिन के साथ में, सबको साथ में लेकर, कम्युनल हार्मनी को भी ठीक से रखकर आगे बढ़ सकते हैं, और इसके लिए मैं मेरे तरफ से आपको सब कुछ सपोर्ट देने के लिए तैयार हूं, मगर मुझे कोई कम्युनल मामला नहीं मांगता है, बिकॉज दैट इज नॉट इंडिया। We have to see to it that everybody, now backward class ये है, वो advanced class कुछ नहीं, सब एक हिंदुस्तानी है, और हम लोग बाकी के लोगों को पॉलिटिकली क्या कहना है उनको कहने दो। हम तालीम के मैदान में बच्चों को ट्रेनिंग करके उनको एक अच्छे भारत के भारतीय हम बनाएंगे, और इसके लिए आपकी जो मूवमेंट है, मैं उनको साथ में आने के लिए तैयार हूँ।
Thank you, sir. Thank you all three guests for your satisfactory answers. Now we are moving on for the concluding speech of Mr. Fawaz Shaheen, who is the National Secretary of SIO of India, Student Islamic of India. So please, Fawaz Shaheen, sir, please continue.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, specifically all our esteemed speakers. We've had a very exhaustive discussion, and I don't want to conclude with a long, boring speech. I think we have a lot of ideas, and even Inamdar Saab has ended with a mandate for us to take some of these initiatives to the masses. And certainly these exercises, this Shiksha Samwad, and inshallah, a series of Shiksha Samwad that we are doing in different states is to get friends, allies, partners, people who have common concerns, and make this push to plug the gaps that have emerged in our system. And so I was listening to the discussion today, and of course we had identified issues of access, issues of quality, but it's very clear, I think, not just from this discussion, but from our interactions with students across age groups, because as an organization working with other student organizations, student groups, we are in interaction with students from middle school and senior secondary to right up to research PhD students. And what we can see is that the debate in popular media, it has been consumed by questions of technology. The crisis in education during COVID, the debate has been consumed by questions of who has access, how will we give access, what are the best platforms to use, things like that. And that has been, we've had some debate over that. But the actual crisis, the feedback that we are getting, the discussion even that we saw today, the actual crisis is not really a technological crisis. The actual crisis is something to do with social isolation, something to do with the fact that students are not able, they're learning. It's not just the quality of the content that has been impacted, just the ways of learning, the fact that they would go out in school, they would sit with their friends, and all of that that method has become disrupted. And this complete isolation at home, completely being cut off from education for nearly 2 years. So this is something we have yet to understand its full impact, and we can foresee that the fact that the technological challenges which are a part of this crisis have not really been met by the government means that this one more academic year may be lost to COVID. So right there, our mandate and our challenge is very clear. That in this year, so the challenge of technology, the challenge of access, and the challenge of isolation and social exclusion. These are all things that we have to develop small initiatives to meet. Of course, we need policy level advocacy. We need to work with, try and push our institutions to do the work that is required. But that is not all. As a social organization, as a organization of students, we also need to come up with some creative initiatives, and these discussions are leading us to some programs where we can work with plugging issues, or where we can work with the students who may have access to technology but who are losing out on the classroom experience. How we can try and plug that in through some targeted intervention. So some ideas are coming up. Hopefully, we'll have more of these conversations. We'll come out with some concrete proposals in the next 2-3 months or so. So that is in the pipeline. But also, apart from the unique challenges that COVID has put up, just before concluding this address, I want to just put light on the fact that COVID has also exposed the deep-rooted pre-existing flaws in our system, and essentially flaws of two kinds. One is the very basic the lack of education infrastructure for large number of people in this country. The fact that during this pandemic, government schools, students who relied on government schools for their education essentially have been left out in the cold. And that the fact that this has been such a massive breakdown. Anybody who has any interaction with government school teachers and students knows that the breakdown there has been almost complete. And whatever they are putting up, I mean, there are some schools, some teachers very dedicated. They are trying to just make the situation work, and we must really salute them. But the system really has had no answers for them. So that just shows us how generally poorly equipped our entire government public school system is. And the other is also our whole method of our whole expectation of learning, the exam-based, annual exam-focused, entrance exam-focused education system. This pandemic has completely upturned all of that. The fact that we are having a year in which a country obsessed with board examinations is having to, it's coming to terms with we are having a year where there will be no board examinations. I mean, there are so many people who are not able to digest that yet. So that should tell us how flawed our, how flawed we have made our systems of evaluation, systems of, judging learning outcomes. So these are not problems that COVID brought on. These are just problems that COVID has thrown in our face. So this is also a time, not just to talk about, not just to try and plug in the gap that COVID has created, but also to talk about some fundamental issues related to our education system, particularly related to the way we evaluate our students, the way we evaluate learning. And I really hope that we can, this is not something that can happen in a day. So on this issue, our hope is really to start a national conversation. And we hope in the next series of discussions, we'll be taking that up. But for now, definitely, we are very thankful to all our guests for joining us, for the interaction, for taking out time for this interaction, and for the ideas that have been thrown around here. We are in the process of, collating some of these ideas and trying to make some pilot programs that our membership, our cadre people, are, young activists who want to work in the change makers, who want to work in the field of education, can take up and get involved in. So hopefully we'll be coming up with that, with those some concrete pilot programs in the next few days. We're very thankful for all the contributions, and also thankful to SIO Maharashtra, Maharashtra South, for organizing this. And that's all I have to say. There's a lot that's going in my mind, but we've heard very good speeches, and I don't want to end on a note of inexpertise with rambling thoughts. So this discussion has given me a lot to think about. We'll be getting back to you with some concrete things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shaheen. Now, I would like to conclude the session. And on behalf of Student Islamic Organization, I would like to present a vote of thanks to our all guests, Mr. Sudhindra Kulkarni sir, Mr. Namdar sir, Ms. Himali Chapia ma'am, and who joined our webinar and given their valuable time, thoughts, and practical experience. And I hope we will join hand in the future to learn from you all and to make education accessible and more better for all. And inshallah, we will make India a actual educated country. Thanks once again. Jazakallahu khair. Thank you.